The time has come. It's been 4 painful weeks that we haven't been able to do this series. The time is finally here, and boy, I'm excited to do it. So welcome to part 1 of building the ultimate Civil War airport battle, a 6-part series where we go step by step into trying to make a UCS version of the 2017 set, or I guess some master builders if you want to get technical about it. This is part 1, where we go through the plan of what we're actually going to be attempting and why we're attempting it. So buckle in, because I actually feel like this might actually turn out more expensive than the Daily Bugle MOC. Civil War is probably one of my favourite films that have come out of the Marvel franchise. This opinion I share with probably a lot of other people. Not only was it a great standalone film, it was also the introduction of Black Panther and Spider-Man. And we all know that Spider-Man is my favourite Marvel character. This film introduced him as a really cool character, and I love the fact that we've still got him to this day. So for those of you who are paying attention, this project has actually been picked by you guys. At the end of the Daily Bugle project, I put out a poll basically saying what you guys wanted to see next, and you guys picked this one. And I can understand why. It's one of the most famous scenes out of Marvel history, but unfortunately that also means that the original set from 2017 has gone up stacks on the aftermarket. So trying to make this a modification thing just isn't happening. I actually think this is going to be more expensive than just buying one of those sets outright, but at least I can save some money in a few areas. Now the scene is quite a fairly long one, so I obviously won't be able to show it all in this video, but if we check out some of the scene that I want to depict this MOC from, I'll probably be picking this scene here. The one where Giant Man immediately grows and starts destroying almost everything around him. That way we can focus on more of the Avengers and their own stories within the diorama, rather than focusing on the actual airport side of it. Most of this scene happens outside, and a lot of it happens with all the Avengers out on the actual airstrip, so we can maximize getting all these figures and putting them in dynamic poses and making it relevant to where they need to be. Obviously, taking a look at the scene, there's a lot more details that was included back on the original set that we'll need to focus on to make this almost a Master Builders set. Taking a look at the original set, you can see that we've got 3 main areas to focus on. One being Giant Man, one being the airport tower, and finally the Quinjet. Now these are the 3 main builds that I think we're going to be doing throughout this process. And to help us match our scene, first thing we're going to tackle is probably Giant Man. First off, I understand why LEGO made him look like this, because obviously budget reasons and everything like that. However, obviously in the film, he's much bigger than this, so I think that's the first priority. I know Ant-Man isn't a very popular character, but Paul Rudd's version of Ant-Man is actually one of my favourite MCU titles, along with the almighty Saint himself, and both of them are really good in this scene. I already have the plans for Giant Man, and yes, he will be brick built, but to give a little more context on just how big I want this guy, he is actually going to be bigger than the buildable Harry Potter figures that we saw earlier this year. So if you guys have those figures, you'll kinda know how big we're making this guy. I think this will be a more accurate representation of how big he is in the actual film. Obviously, looking at the original airport tower, we're probably going to build something very similar, just much bigger and much more substantial, as that will probably be our representation of the airport. There was considerations for a while of building a hangar with the Quinjet inside of it, but weighing up the cost of building a Quinjet, either custom or the one from the original set, added so much to the budget of this set, and that's not including the really big hangar we'd have to make to keep the Quinjet inside of. Maybe this is something we could look into for one day, but this time round we're going to just leave the hangar out of it. This unfortunately means that we're probably not going to have a Quinjet for this final build. However, I have a backup plan. Obviously, in terms of the scene itself, we're going to be mainly focusing on this giant plane that Ant-Man rips the wing off and starts to throw at other people. I think this would be a better direction to put the money into, rather than buying an expensive Quinjet, which is only in the scene for about 5 seconds. This way our minifigures can be way more dynamic, and it'll give me more options and not have to have Black Panther, Black Widow, Bucky, and Captain America so far away. So with this knowledge in mind, I took to drawing. Now here is a time lapse of the model we are hopefully going to make. You can see that it's actually very reminiscent of the original set, and made sure that I stuck to this, as I feel that you can make the airport without having to make the huge building in the background, which was at one point considered, but unfortunately I don't have that kind of money. One thing I really enjoyed about the planning process of this drawing was done in conjunction with the members. We normally jump into a Discord call every Friday, and this is where we discuss future video ideas and multi-part projects. The members really do make it possible to do a lot more with these types of projects, that or the people buying from my website, whether it be merch options or just instructions for models that you guys want to make. There are so many benefits you guys get from becoming a member, such as exclusive wallpapers of some of the thumbnails that I do, obviously the Discord call every Friday at 5 PM UK time, exclusive content over on my Discord studio files, and not to mention a behind the scenes special of this very series you're watching right now, taking you behind the scenes of how I make these videos, discussing more of the decision process, and how I make these videos for you guys on YouTube. If that's something that you'd be interested in, press the join button and just take a look at some of the options that are there. Like I say, some of these members actually got to help me design this and watch me start some of the build process on Studio, and I got to answer questions with them along the way, and it was super fun. We discussed multiple avenues of how this set could have gone, while in the meantime I discussed what would be possible and what probably wouldn't be possible. There were discussions of putting this entire MOC on a base plate at one point, and we ultimately decided that eventually this wouldn't be a good idea because then we'd have to lower the price of everything, making some things like the tower smaller, and swapping out less expensive pieces on things like the Giant Man MOC to make him less accurate. I also think this set doesn't really need to be on a base plate. The original didn't do one, so I don't think we're going to do one either. I think the beauty of this MOC is going to be one of those things where you can move the things around. Say you want different minifigures in different positions, they're not going to be locked down to certain things, apart from maybe one or two characters that we're going to have flying. This series has been in preparation now for about 2 weeks, so there are a few things that I've bought already for this project that we'll get to in later episodes. I think trying to include as many official LEGO sets as possible will be good for you guys trying to recreate this or trying to do something of your own later on down the line when this series is done and dusted. So if you want to count this series as a MOC series or a mod series, it's up to you. Basically, we're going to be modding and taking things out of other sets to include into this giant MOC. Yeah, it's not as big as the Daily Bugle project, but doing these smaller MOCs are still going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and especially a lot of money. And don't worry, I've heard you guys crying for an Oscorp tower, so we could definitely think about doing that later on down the line. The airport has so many vehicles and everything else around it that I feel like this will still be a substantial enough build, and being able to tell stories with the minifigures I think is the main thing here. Giant Man will probably take up most of the pieces that are going to be in this MOC, that or the control tower. We've got a lot of things planned, like this helicopter and a couple of other vehicles, and we're going to display it all on a nice grey IKEA table for the final reveal. And I want to hear about all your ideas in the comment sections below. You guys blew up the comment section of the last series, so I want to hear about all your ideas and minifig suggestions in the comment section below. Sharing the videos around and doing that again would be greatly appreciated. Like I say, this is not the first time we've attempted a massive MOC, so if you haven't seen that and you're new around here, I'll link you to the marathon episodes. It's all 6 episodes in one. Yeah, it's an hour long, but we did a lot during that first series. Click the screen. I'll see you in the next one where we talk about the minifigs.